I'd like to welcome you all to the regular school committee meeting for Tuesday, November 22nd. The matters listed below are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up by discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being recorded by the Peabody School Committee recording secretary. I'd like to please stand and have a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Herb Green.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Tonight it's my pleasure to introduce two wonderful center school students from the Peabody Public Schools. Katie Amico. Katie is the daughter of Beth and school committee member Joe Amico. She is a 5th grade student at the center school. Her favorite subject is math. Katie enjoys playing soccer, lacrosse, and basketball, and she will be playing on the center school girls basketball team this winter. She also likes to draw, and even though she's only in the 5th grade, she hopes to attend Boston College, which is my alma mater. So I can tell you a lot of stuff about Boston College. We'll talk. Come forward, Katie. And our next student is Dominic Scalise. Dominic is the son of Stephanie and Mark Scalise, and he is also a 5th grade student at the center school. Dominic's favorite class at center is art. He enjoys playing many sports, including soccer, baseball, football, and basketball, football, and baseball. He will be playing on the center school boys basketball team this winter. He likes drawing and playing video games in his spare time. Dominic hopes to attend the military college after high school. My son went to the Air Force Academy and was a pilot, so we'll talk too. Dominic and Katie are excited to attend the Higgins Middle School next year, and they will miss their teachers at center school very much. And I'd like to introduce Jackie O'Farnos, who's the principal of the center school, and thank her for being here as well. And now they will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, last week the parents asked for pictures. Are you interested in pictures? Yeah. You want to get pictures? Yeah. And afterwards we'll be doing individuals of myself.
Autographs?
She really wants pictures now.
She does. Yeah. No.
Get up there.
Come on up. Come on up, kids.
With or without?
Oh, that's really cute. Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'll be signing mine later.
Well, guys, thank you.
Want to give them anything, the recipes, Herb?
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to the next agenda item. We will move to approval of minutes.
Motion to approve minutes from the November 16, 2016 regular school committee meeting.
You heard the motion by Mr. Hockman, seconded by Mr. Amico. On the motion, Ms. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have 2 corrections. The first correction is on page 3 of the minutes. It could go anywhere up in that first section concerning the playground, but I did just want to include something to the effect, Mrs. Dunn requested that Mr. Healy be involved to make sure parking lot improvements can also be addressed at the same time. And that was confirmed by the mayor, the superintendent, by Dr. Mashey. And then the only other correction would be on page 5, and it's just under number 6, the liaison to city council and advisory boards. The parent advisory board meeting, the date in that line is incorrect. It should be November 21st. That's it. Thank you.
No further corrections. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympia?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to approval of bills.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant A, number 3253, dated November 22nd, 2016, in the amount of $796,934.94, subject to audit.
Second.
You heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter, seconded by Mr. Hoffman. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympia?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant B, number 3256, dated November 22nd, 2016, in the amount of $74,416.00, subject to audit.
Second.
You heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter, seconded by Mr. Hoffman. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympia?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Moving on to the next agenda item is continued business. Ms. Dunn, an update on the MSBA project for the Higgins.
The Higgins School Building Committee met last Thursday here at the Higgins, and many of the items in this building are being wrapped up, so the discussion was really about some of the changes that need to be made to the information I gave you at our last meeting, to be honest. The roadways outside are going to be receiving a preliminary layer of hot top, and they will be receiving a secondary layer at a later date. So they will not be open until basically the late spring. And there are reasons for that. They want to make sure that the drainage is correct. It all depends upon weather. And as I stated, the traffic pattern here on the site would stay the same, but it is definitely staying the same because we're not going to open those roads yet. They just can't do that. They have to do a lot of other work under there. One of the other things that we talked about at our meeting was we're going through the building. There are several things. As you are in a new building and you are trying out all the new systems, you're making sure that they're all working. The lockers, the locks in the lockers have been repaired. There was a couple of problems with several of the locks, probably about maybe 3 or 4 dozen. That is being taken care of now, and in the summer, all the lockers will be replaced at no cost to us. It's going to come from the manufacturers because of the defect. The other thing that people are always noticing about out front, the lighting, and that is being worked on as well. There are several reasons for that. One is that the sign out front needs to be adjusted, and that the lighting and the sign, everything out there is actually interconnected. It was kind of a very interesting discussion. We will have another meeting in December. It will be I want to say it's the 3rd Thursday of the month. It's always the 3rd Thursday, and again, those are all open to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. No further questions on that, so we'll move on to for kids only, before and after school program.
Through the chair, you have an updated enrollment that was given to us last week. As you can see, the after-school programs are very healthy. The before-school programs are still getting off the ground, and they're a little thin in some places, but to the satisfaction of FOC Kids Only, and we're still running them, and we expect them to grow as the year goes on. And we understand from Lacey Beacott, the principal at the Burke, that she now has about 12 to 15 people that are interested in the Burke, and we're going to try to get that off the ground as soon as possible.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Hoffman.
For you, Mr. Chairman, to the superintendent, the numbers that you have for enrollment at the after-school program for the Burke, does that include some West school students?
It includes, through the chair, I believe it includes one. I'm not sure if there's more than that.
And to your knowledge, has there been any additional interest at the West for an after-school program?
I have received no communication either electronically, by hard copy, or by phone call.
Thank you.
Ms. Carpenter?
So the after-school program at the Burke has one West student?
Yes.
How are they getting there?
They're, through the chair, we've been able to provide transportation through our own bus company at no extra charge. And they were able to drop this young person off, but not home. So the arrangements had to be made for that young person to get home, and they're being picked up by mom.
So we just arranged from the West to the Burke?
That's correct.
And then there's all parents pick up at the end of the day?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, we'll move on to public participation. At this time, is there anybody in the audience that would like to come up and say anything? Seeing none, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Levine.
Thank you very much. Before I forget, I'd like to, in case you don't know, our newest appointment to the Supreme Court, Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, is Kimberly S. Budd, and she is a 1984 graduate of Peabody High School.
Before, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, you want to add to that?
I was just going to add that Judge Lowy, the week before. was-
And Judge Lowy, yeah.
sworn in.
So that is the second Peabody person. That's right. Next week, you will be receiving the response that you asked for to the Sheckman Melmock reports in special ed. It is all done, and I proofed it today, and it'll be in your packet for the next committee meeting. And I will have Ruth Gruby here, our new Director of Special Ed, to answer any questions that you might have on that. But it's a pretty comprehensive response, and it's all very positive. I'm sorry that this didn't make it into your packet. It is a late arrival. It's a request for the varsity hockey coach to take his team on a trip that he goes on every year overnight. And I would ask that you approve that through the chair.
Motion to receive.
Second.
Second.
Is it to receive and to approve?
Just to receive.
Just to receive?
Second.
Okay.
Ms. Dunn's still shooting, so.
Roll call vote? No.
Yes.
No.
Are we good? Yeah.
No.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Motion to approve.
You heard the motion by
Second.
Mr. Miko, seconded by Mr. Olympio on approval of the field trip. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hawkins?
Abstain.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympia?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Motion passes on the motion is done.
Just one follow-up, if you could just request that they give you a number of how many parental chaperones they have on that trip.
I will get that for you.
That would be good, just for our records.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep, back to you.
In your packet, you received 2 job descriptions. Unfortunately, we will lose Charlie Charette at the end of this year. He will not be coming back. That is much to the chagrin of anybody who's dealt with him in the past 2 years. I will thank Charlie appropriately before he leaves. But we have updated the Human Resource Administrative job position, and I would be asking that be referred to the subcommittee, Mrs. Dunn's subcommittee, for further discussion on appropriate salary so that we can take it out after the holidays and then advertise it appropriately in February, March.
Ms. Dunn.
Actually, you know, I think it might be better in finance something.
Finance?
Finance negotiations, yes. But thank you.
Superintendent amends the recommendation to the Finance Committee.
Motion to follow the recommendation of the superintendent.
Second.
You heard the motion by Mr. Hockman, seconded by Mr. Amico. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Roosevelt? I'm sorry, Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Olympia?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have the same recommendation for the AV Tech Facilities Manager at the Higgins. The job description, and by the way, these job descriptions have been gone over with the union. The first one, actually, I'm sorry, is not a union position, but the AV Tech Facilities Manager job description has been gone over with the union. Bruce and I have been back and forth on this. We basically agreed to everything except I need to make a recommendation to you again as to what the salary might be for this, what the pay might be. We're talking back and forth right now about where it lies appropriately in the contract. I would like to do the same thing, get this into subcommittee for discussion so that I can make some recommendations to you and then you can report out to the full committee.
Motion to follow the recommendation of the superintendent.
Second.
You heard the motion by Mr. Hoffman, seconded by Mr. Minico. Roll call vote. On the motion, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Levine, is this AV Tech Facilities Manager a new position?
Yes, yes it is, through the chair.
Thank you.
Actually, one further question. Do we have parameters on every position, or are there positions currently that we don't have necessarily parameters on as far as hiring goes?
To the chair, could you define parameters?
Minimum and max out. I know for our union staff, it's pretty well defined. But for our non-union staff, do we have those same parameters established?
So, through the chair and to the chair and to the committee, these are the discussions that I've been having with Bruce Nelson, the union president. There are really two questions here. This is either an extracurricular position to which you will add a stipend, or it will be a differential position which will wind up in the body of the contract along with department heads. That is a decision that you will have to make. I will have a recommendation to you. It's not black and white. This is a gray area because this position will likely be working extra hours. This position will likely be working in the evening, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours at a time. The question is, do we want to add this to a large stipend and then the hourly rate goes back to the city? Or do we want to make this a stipend that is similar to department heads and the hourly rate is either goes to the person who's doing the job or is split between that person and the school department? These are questions that's why I'm recommending it to subcommittee, because the details, there are many ways to go, and you're going to have to be comfortable with whichever way it goes. And there are different advantages and disadvantages to both. For example, if we have a larger stipend but no hourly rate, the person working 5 hours at night is less likely to be happy about that. If we have a lower stipend, but the hourly rate is attached to whatever work he or she does beyond the school day, it's a little more enthusiasm. So I'll make some recommendations based upon what I see, but I think the union and I basically agree with the recommendation, and we'll see if you do. So that discussion will be at the subcommittee table and then report it out to you.
No further discussion, roll call vote.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Lindsey?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Before you move on, are there any other positions district-wide that we don't have parameters on that aren't union?
Through the chair and to the chair, the next job description that you will get will be community service coordinator, which will be also a new position. And it's basically the same discussion. Will it be in the body of the contract as a differential position, or will it be an extracurricular position with a stipend? It's a little bit less convoluted because it really won't have nights attached to it like we were talking about with the AV person. So eventually, you'll probably have that at the next meeting. I will ask that also go to Finance Subcommittee for discussion at that point. The reason I chose to write a community service coordinator's job description is that last year, at the recommendation of the high school, I didn't have such a position recommended. They thought that they could do it by meeting it out to different people. That did not work to my satisfaction or theirs. I believe that in order for a community service program to run effectively and efficiently, You need one person who's going to bird dog it all the time, and then work with other people. So I'll be giving you the rationale for that and what the job description looks like, either at the next meeting or just after that.
I'm sorry, just one question on that. You don't see that as a job that falls under guidance?
Yes, it could fall under guidance, but my experience, I've had community service programs wherever I've been, and my experience is that unless you have one person to whom kids go, staff goes, and even guidance people go, it kind of takes a back seat. And we need somebody to keep it in the forefront. And right now, we're at the beginning stages of this program, even though it's been around for a year now. It's not where I want it to be, and I think we need to hire a person to make sure that it gets there.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm through with my report, and I would just wish the Peabody community a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. Written communications, there are none, so we'll move right into subcommittee reports. Education Subcommittee.
The only report I have is that we plan to meet on Tuesday, December 6th at 6:30 here at the Higgins, and we'll post it in the normal course.
Thank you. Finance Subcommittee.
Nothing to report.
School Safety.
Nothing to report.
Athletics and Wellness, the only thing is our next meeting is January 17th with ongoing discussions. Quality and Standards, Ms. Dunn.
Nothing to report.
Liaison to the City Council and Advisory Board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last night, on Monday the 21st, the Parent Advisory Board meeting took place down at the Carroll School. And the Parent Advisory Board was very happy to welcome a new special education director, Cynthia Ruby. She came in to answer some specific questions of the parents and to give everyone an overview of some of the special ed processes. And it was a very interesting meeting. And she was so gracious with her time and with the fact that she was giving us really good, solid answers to many of the things parents were asking. One of the things that parents were asking about were like timelines. If there is a student in class who is waiting to be evaluated for special education services, what is the time frame for that? And she went through very, very specific dates and times and how the process works, whether you have to get it, when you have to assemble a team, what type of evaluations might take place. She gave us a lot of insight into what it's like to have the integrated special ed programs that we have here in Peabody and how lucky we really are to do that. She talked about some of the things that she'd like to do in the future. She's really energetic and very excited about always improving the system. And I will say, and for the record, one of the nice feedbacks from the parents was that the communications with her have been very, very valuable and very appreciated. Many of them had some interaction with her, and they were very complimentary about that. So it was a very interesting meeting, and I'm very glad that she could come and speak to us. There were a couple of other things on our agenda, just follow-ups from our last meeting. This coming month, there'll be a letter going out to all the schools, introducing each school to their specific Parent Advisory Board representative and letting them know, what the Parent Advisory Board does. And another discussion came up. The parents had brought forward a concern about PTOs needing insurance. And I spoke with Dr. Levine about that and brought back to the parents that is being evaluated now. We're going to look at it to try to figure out how the PTOs might be able to have the lower rates and how to economize on the insurance, but that it was a necessity and that it had been put out across the state to ask about protecting people on the PTOs and making sure that there are appropriate protections in place at the events and things that parents go to. So our next meeting is going to be the third Monday of the month. I believe it's December 19th, and we're going to have it here in the Higgins cafeteria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Building and Grounds, that's the Mayor's Subcommittee, so we'll hold off for the next meeting. Any new items of business can be handled in the regular course of action. I would just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you.